Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So we are on the third floor, which can be ignored in this building. And these are some of the best kept secrets, made in America furniture. So for your go-to vendors, I think that all of these are going to make your list at the end of this. So at the end of the talk, we want you to go and explore, touch, feel, sit at every single one of these because they're all made in America, excellent value, and you probably don't know them yet. So that's the amazing bit about being right here. So thank you for coming. So we are sponsored by Zimmerman Chair. They do amazing stuff. They're going to talk to us a little bit too. Green Gables. Sorry, I should be reading this instead of just winging it. Parker Southern, Temple, Mantle, and Old Hickory. So all of these vendors, plus the Designers Collaborative, have sponsored this event. So thank you to everyone who put this together. We were all creating your little bags this morning, you know. So thank you everyone who's put this together. We're going to hear from a couple of the reps from the vendors, just a little bit about what they do. So we're going to hear from them right now, but really you need to go, touch, explore, sit, and learn in the showrooms.
Okay. My name's Woody. I am the sales director for Temple Furniture as well as Parker and Mantle, which is our e-commerce line. As Heather pointed out, we are an American company. We manufacture everything made in North Carolina, which is about 6 miles south of Hickory. We are very designer friendly. We're shipping right now in 4 to 6 weeks. We are a sustainable company. We do lots of green stuff. We like the recycling stories just as much as your consumers do. Probably between two companies, I think we're over 1,400 fabrics now, but we still do a lot of COM fabric. Tons and tons of customization factors. However, we do true custom. We can build by the inch. If you have a consumer that's comes in front of you or a client and they have a picture of something and maybe you don't see it on our webpage, yes, we will entertain those ideas. We do it all the time. Commercial, residential, we do both. We do obviously a little bit more heavy in the residential part of it, but we are getting into hospitality as well. It started about 60 years ago, which is now in its third generation of ownership, and the fourth generation is currently working in the factory, so we're looking forward to bringing them up too. Please, I want to reiterate what Heather said. Take time to get in here, sit in it, touch it, feel it, ask questions. We're looking forward to answering those questions later this afternoon. And thank you. It means a lot that so many people came out and showing some interest. We appreciate it, and please give us some of your time. Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Peregrine. I'm the VP of Sales for American Exclusives Furniture. So we are the leading force in the world of handcrafted solid wood furniture that is made right here in the US of A. And all of our 4 companies are actually made in the USA. So within American Exclusives, we have 4 very, very iconic brands, starting with Old Hickory Furniture. The company started in 1892 and has probably the richest history in probably all of High Point Market. They've furnished every national park lodge in America, well, almost every national park lodge in America, countless restaurants, and even the happiest place on earth, Disney World. Most recently, we launched our Lodge collection, and that was a collaboration with designer Max Humphrey, and that's been going over very well. So that's going to be actually featured right in our front window here. Next, we have Green Gables Furniture. Green Gables is the largest reclaimed barnwood furniture manufacturer in the world. And most recently, Green Gables made headlines when we became the official licensed furniture of a TV show named Yellowstone. So that's been really big for us. What's great about that is it really brought rustic elegance into every home, which I feel like makes a home an actual home versus just being a house. So lastly, I won't go too far into our other 2 brands, but we also have 2 very spectacular brands that are very, very, I'd say they almost transcend furniture. They're kind of works of art, and that would be Flat Rock Furniture and Western Heritage Furniture. So in summary, basically, at American Exclusives, we try to bring together tradition, craftsmanship, and creativity, and offer furniture that, like I said, just makes a house a home. So, thank you.
The Zimmerman Chair is a family-owned company. We're celebrating our 50th year in business this year. Family-owned company from Lebanon, Pennsylvania, just 30 minutes from Hershey Chocolate, and in Pennsylvania. And we're solid wood dining and bedroom. Choose your finish, choose your fabric, choose your size, choose your hardware, all of that special order. Create it for you and your client. So yeah, I am really proud to have Heather here again. She was here last year. We had a great event in our showroom. And so we're really proud to have all these brands on this floor. And again, you've found a very unique floor in High Point. American made, you know, it's just a great teamwork up here we got with the brands. And so the American made, it's really what made America. This thing of American made, bring manufacturing back to the USA. So thank you, Heather, and everybody for coming today. And yes, do take time to come into the showrooms and touch, feel, and thanks again.
Thank you, everybody. So another thing about the American Made, in case none of you are aware, there's been lots of craziness in the world of shipping. So you can avoid all of that by buying it right here, because all it has to do is get on a truck. There's no ship, there's no train, it's just a truck. So that's one of the benefits. On top of it, you know, you're supporting local people and family-run businesses, which I love. So I'm Heather McManus, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Designers Collaborative. I created this business because I needed it for myself. My clients were going on the internet and seeing prices that I couldn't even offer them. So I started this business about 6 years ago. We have grown to well over 500 members and growing. And we are able to offer the very best pricing in the whole industry that I've ever heard of because of the numbers that we have. With this many people, you basically turn into a furniture showroom. You can offer that kind of pricing to your clients. So they're still getting the amazing value and you're still making the most profit, which we need to survive. It's life-changing kind of profitability. There is a cost to join. It is $5.99 for the year. It pays for itself in one order. One area rug, and there is probably gravy left over for you. So it's, I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's amazing, but most of the people who are here are already members, so you can hear from them about how amazing it is. You know, I'm proud of what we built. We also have amazing community, tools, templates, education, because, you know, everyone comes in at a different level. You may be in business for 1 year and never wrote a purchase order before. Don't worry, we got you. We have lots that we do to let you know who to use, how to do it. The Facebook group is amazing because, you know, it's a whole 500 people who are here at market or not. And when they get home, they're gonna be sharing their stories and helping you find, oh, well, that's Pottery Barn that the client showed me, but actually it's made by this company, so let's order from them. It's just incredibly helpful, and I'm so glad that you know, we've been able to pull it together and make it amazing for everybody. So, yep, so that's about us. Now, our lovely panelists, we have Sara Lynn of Sara Lynn Brennan Interiors out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and Megan Thompson, who has Spark Interiors and the interior design greenList. So I'm going to let them tell you more details about what they do. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Heather. Thanks for putting this together. I'm really excited about this event. My name is Megan. I own an interior design firm, residential commercial, out of Denver. But I also started a platform for interior designers called Interior Design greenList like Heather, I started it for myself, and then I needed to expand it to designers because I found that designers were looking for the ability to implement sustainability but not have to do all the work. So it's like a done-for-you platform. You don't have to think. We want you to start sourcing sustainably without all the extra work on day one. So that's what I'm about.
Nice. Thank you for having us here again, Heather. This is so great, and I really enjoyed. My team and I enjoyed the bagel this morning. I don't know if anybody else did. We're out of Charlotte. We are a full-service luxury interior design firm, and we just love what we do. We kind of cross over into the design build realm, and furnishings was our bread and butter for a really long time, and it probably still is if you look at our QuickBooks. But the Designers Collaborative helped me to absolutely change the way that our business could run, the way that we could hire, the way we could grow and scale. And we do that through offering a huge amount of furnishings at a basically stocking dealer price. And we're a fairly small firm, so it's been a game changer for us. And we love the community side, like you were talking about before. The Facebook group is so awesome. We'll be sitting at the conference table and we're like, I can't find X, Y, and Z thing. We're like, has anyone posted to the group? And then 10 minutes, somebody's got like a list of places we should look. And it's just wonderful to have that extension of your team, that community, and that buying power, because profitability at the end of the day makes me really, really excited. I love the sustainability part too, but profitability at the end of the day is how we can grow and be around. Our business has to be sustainable as well, and if we don't have the right margins, then we're not going to be around for those clients who want us to come and design their second home and their third home and all of those wonderful things that people who have that much money do. So that's really what it's meant to me, and I've been in the group I think for 5 or 6 years and watched it grow, and so I'm so excited to have all of you here. And if there's any point that you have questions about what this group is and what the heck, how it works, I understand, and so we're happy to help answer those too.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, all of our members are cheerleaders for us. They sell it so much better than I do. And I invited both of them here because they're from vastly different parts of the country. So they both have very different clientele in some ways, and some ways there's a lot that is going to overlap. So I thought it's a great perspective on the topic of who is your go-to vendors and how do you find them and all of that. So our first question is, what are the most important factors in choosing your vendor? Is it your price, the quality, being made in America, sustainability, the profit that you might make, or the style? Which of those are the determining factors when you're like, okay, I got all this to choose from? How do we begin?
So for us, we kind of have a core, I would say top 10, top 15 vendor lists when we're starting with the upholstery pieces, or we're starting with like the main foundation elements of the room. And I would say style and profitability are our first two on the list. We've got to make sure that whatever we're looking at is the client's right style direction. And then we also need to make sure, because our firm has profitability goals with every single project. So there's some vendors we just flat out love and flat out don't source from because they don't miss or they don't fit our profitability goals. So those two go hand in hand, but then also the quality and how it's made, because if you've received a lot of furniture in your lifetime, you know that the places that have bad quality create more work for you because you're dealing with the claims and shipping it back and paying for that transit back and forth. So those three criteria are huge for us. And then, whatever the client may be wanting or needing, it kind of trickles down from there. So what's important to them after that?
I mirror quality because quality follows sustainability. Mm-hmm. So for us, we're very budget driven. We always work to our client's budget. We don't even start a project without knowing what our investment level is going to be. So that really does probably drive our top level. Then of course style, and then from there I go to my greenList and I see who on the upholstery directory are we going to look at first because they're ranked. And then if that matches the style, then we kind of go down that way. But for our clients, I live in Colorado, maybe we're a little granola out there, but they are coming to our firm because we offer sustainable selections. So that is something that we promise and we need to deliver. So it is really important, and everyone that's sponsoring this today is on our list. So you can trust with confidence that that's going to be a point. But I would say it is a big factor for my demographic.
Thank you. Great answers. Okay, so with the multitude of vendors to choose from, how do you determine where to source?
Well, Heather's group has been instrumental in introducing me and my designer to brands I didn't even know existed, because I don't have the luxury of being able to come to High Point. This is my first market, right? So just being able to look at a list and say, wow, there are that many. So that's one of the things that helps. And then knowing that we're getting the margin is such a gap, like buying through the group, just the amount that you guys might be missing out on. You are missing out on if you're not purchasing in this way. You're leaving so much money on the table. So truly, like, I usually just use per vendors.
Yeah, so do we. And if we're in a bind, like I said, or if we need to discover new vendors, because what you don't want is your portfolio to be full of the same 5 or 10 vendors all the time. It gets a little stale. But for us, also looking at the internet and what can be Googled and what those prices are coming up at, so that when we're building that trust with the client, it could be very innocent. It could be that their dog peed on the rug and they just flipped it over to try to replace it so they didn't have to tell you because they're embarrassed, and they go to order it, and in that moment you just sourced maybe a $200,000 for them in their whole house, and that one stupid rug has them questioning everything. And so you want to be able to have this trust built in that when they Google it, you're not going to be, tremendously high, or just anything that would compromise that. So when we're looking at our vendors, we have the ones we are tried and true to us. Then we hit the TDC list to see exactly like who are we missing out on, or who don't we know, or who would fit this criteria. And then we're Googling everything prior to putting it into the presentation, just to make sure we're not too far one way or the other.
Yep, probably the same for just about everybody. But okay, so the next question, do you find you use the same vendors over and over again, and how did they become that go-to vendor for you?
Yeah, we do. I would say there's some that we use over and over again. I think the ease of working with them is probably a good part of it. The rep relationship, when their products come in, it's not broken, it doesn't need to be addressed, it doesn't need there doesn't need to be a fight to get your right piece to your client. And then I just think these market experiences, you walk into some showrooms and there really is just that inviting feeling that they want to work with you, not that you're just another number to them or a dollar sign to them. So for us, it's just been over the years, testing out different vendors, seeing who we like, and then using the group to help us have that profitability, because those margins are significantly different when you buy through TDC than you buy with your own designer account. It's usually very, very different.
I would mirror that and say we definitely have our lean on go-tos, because we know they work for the style in our area, or we're comfortable with the quality level that comes in. Have we had a couple misses where we were like, well, they wouldn't warranty whatever it was, we'll never order from them again? Yes, but you all have probably had that experience. So go-tos are good, but what's really great about the variety of vendors on this list here is that if you want to explore something new, you can peek into it and dip your toe in, and it's a designer that's like willing to hold your hand and help you learn about that line.
Yeah, I find that with my business, I definitely had the go-tos, and what made it for me was I was familiar with that price list already. Yeah. When I start looking, I'm like, okay, I know how to read this. I know how to figure out what my upcharge is going to be, because I always want that better level cushion and that kind of comfortability of.
Yeah, I would second that because we always estimate every project before we actually get the job. So we're giving them a design fee and then an estimated furnishings budget. And I wouldn't be able to pull that estimate if I didn't understand approximately where I would be with each piece. Or historically, we're looking at our rooms saying, okay, the last living room we did that was about this size came in at X amount of dollars to give myself some wiggle room, or they already have a sofa, so I'm going to take that out in my head to be able to give them an eyeball estimate. Like, you know, you always get those clients that are like, approximately, I won't hold you to it, but approximately how much do you think this is going to be? And you're like, you're definitely going to hold me to this, so I'm going to go over. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have some baseline or historical numbers with my common vendors that we use all the time.
Yep. Okay, so we're here at market, so we need some market tips. We're here to touch and feel and explore the quality. How do you go about that in the showrooms? And then how do you keep track of that information? Because as you guys know, at the end of the day, it's like I saw furniture. I saw a lot of things and I liked some of it. So how do you keep track of what you saw that was like really comfortable? This had like great pricing. How is that? How do you guys do all of that?
I'm very digital, of the digital age, I guess. Like just yesterday, we were in an upholstery showroom and they had a sofa with like their 4 different comfort level seating cushions. And I took a photo and I wrote on my phone what I thought about each of those. So that's one way. I found that the Market app has like a notes section that's been really helpful. So you can like put a heart on it if you liked it, type in what you liked about it. And then for me, as I'm going in, I'm also asking these questions. Like these are a no-brainer. USA Made's like my first question. I kind of gave you guys my top 3 questions that I like to ask to lead me towards sustainability. But I really do want to know where it's sourced, how it's made, you know, is it ethically sourced? Are there any third-party certifications? Is it non-toxic? All those things as well. That's really key for me.
Yeah, and I think being really practical when you're in the showrooms and really thinking about how is an 11-year-old boy going to plunk down on this sofa, and if they stood on the arm to jump and do a cannonball into the fort they made, is it going to stay? And I have an 8 and 11-year-old, and so I know, and that's our ideal client, is luxury family homes, is what we love to do. And so I really sit down hard, and I'm laying and I'm leaning on the sofa, and can my wine glass balance on the arm of this piece? Because I know our clients, you know, at the end of the day, that's what they want to do, is sit there and do that. And really understanding like the way a tall person would sit in that, and I'm not tall, and there aren't very many, I don't think any of us on our team are over 6 foot. So, you know, we do source for athletes and guys who are really, really super tall. So really taking good notes. And I always tell them we see the piece in 2 ways. Our butt sees it when we fit in it and we sit in it. And then our memory sees it and we're actually like understanding the dimensions. And so once you understand like a really commonly liked sofa, it's really just kind of a math equation. So you know the depth, you know the arm height, you know the seat height and that sort of thing. And then it just comes down to the way that cushion is built and understanding a little bit of, you know, the construction of the piece and how well it's going to last. And then the fabrics as well. So I really think just sitting in the sofa, like everyone tries to just be like, oh, that's nice. Nobody sits like that. You know, at the end of the day, they're plunking down, they're laying down, and they're relaxing in these. So that's what I try to do so that I can explain to the client when I get home, I've sat in that, you're gonna love it. Or it's deep, but it's for some reason that back cushion takes up a lot of space. So really just getting practical with the way that's actually gonna be used is helpful to us.
Absolutely. I've worked in furniture stores, and we had at least 100 different vendors, all different sofas on the floor. And I would have a client come through, and they would sit on each one, and guess what? We went to the catalog. So I have no problem selling from a catalog without a client actually sitting in something. It's just been built into how I've done things, because I had the sofa right there. But guess what? We're at least changing that fabric. They have to use their imagination for it. And when you have that trust with the client, they know you sat on it, you took good notes, you know that it's going to be comfortable for them. Or like We know everything is going to sit really good from this company. But this company had maybe half of the things where I felt a little like, okay, this is more about the style of the look of it and not so much about the sit of it. So yeah, it's so important. You're not having tea with the queen. You are going to sit in this furniture like you're really like, just get comfy. It's important to really test it out and remember.
Yeah, because when people are buying with us, and a lot of times their first time working with an interior designer, they're like, how do we get to the store to sit on it? So you really have to have that conversation of your experience with the furniture. But then also another thing that's hugely important is to be able to have the margin on the piece so that if it comes in and they happen to hate it, you can replace it without coming out of pocket with a new piece that they might like or different cushions. So that's why this TDC is so important, is not just because at the end of the day, yeah, I'm going to be profitable. That turns into customer service money. That turns into your reputation in taking care of your clients. And when you do that, then it just starts to really build that trust. But you have to be knowledgeable about the pieces to be able to sit in them and explain it so that hopefully you get to keep that margin. But if not, you have enough built in to buy them an entirely new sofa and you didn't have to come out of pocket.
I would also add to that, like for me, I just mentioned it's my first market, that Facebook group that we have, if I'm having a client who has questions about this brand that maybe it is my first time sourcing, I can go on and go, SOS, my client's asking all these questions about the box dimension and blah, 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 and 10 people are going to get back and say what their experience was, whether they liked it at market or not. So I have like a whole 500 support group.
It is powerful. Okay, so next question is, and this is, you get your pens out. We have a little notebook in there for you. What is your process with sourcing, especially when you have a team?
We were debating. Okay, so I have a virtual assistant who does a lot of admin stuff. I have someone who does CAD and renderings, and then I have an employee part-time. So we have to all stay in our lane, number one. So the process for me is I manage mostly interfacing with our clients, and I work on the budget and the concepts, and then I work back and forth with my renderings and drawing subcontractor to get our space plans. Once we have that, we can really hone in on the budget because we know like we're doing a sofa and 2 chairs and a rug, whatever. I give that budget and the vision board to my designer, who's my assistant designer, and I have her source. She can access all the tools because she's on my team. And she goes and puts maybe 5 options for each selection into our design software. We're using MyDoma. I know y'all are doing your own thing. And then I go back in there and I pull out everything I didn't like. From there, then my renderings girl can log in to MyDoma. I can say it's all ready for you. She knows what fabric we picked, what sofa we picked. She pops it in there, renders it up. We present. It's all on budget because we know what it really costs. And that's sort of the quickest rundown I can do on that process.
Yeah, and so for us, when we take that initial discovery call, a lot of times we're talking about budget at that point, and then we go out and do the consult, send out the proposal, and that budget that we create has come from historical data and rooms that we've collected along the way. So even the sourcing, is really important to think about up front, because if I know they want certain quality, or if I know that their budget isn't really going to work for the project they're wanting to do, then I have to start thinking about what kind of expectations do I have to set, because we're not going to be able to put quality pieces or even custom pieces in a budget like this. So having those conversations on the front end really helps me and my team to figure out where we're going to be able to source from as we get the project. So then after I send out the proposal, it's got the estimated budget in there, including our design fee, all the way down to the product investment, the tax, the freight. We're giving them that holistic number so that they can see they're all in. And then from there, let's say we get the job, have a project kickoff meeting, take measurements of the whole house, start drawing it in our software. establish an ideal layout. So that might be a sectional with a chaise, or an L-shaped sectional with 2 chairs, and those 2 chairs need to swivel. Or the client's demanding a recliner that looks nice, that's a recliner and does all these magical things, and we've yet to find one yet. So that isn't a lazy boy, but is a lazy boy. But so we're thinking about all those things through, and then our goal is, once we get through that design concept round where we've got our layout right and we're starting to plug in furnishings, we're checking the budget and we're checking to see where are we at. And we've gotten really good at kind of winging it and letting it fall where it may, because we've done it so much, right, Leonie? So we just did one of our biggest jobs, and we were pricing, and we didn't have the end number until last minute, and we were all kind of panicking. But I was really proud of our team, because our sourcing experience helped bring us through to that end point, because we had enough experience knowing high price point vendors, low price point vendors, mix them together and you get this midpoint number. And that is really where the experience sourcing comes from. And the best way, I mean, we have interns that work with us, we have new hires. The best way I give them advice when they're trying to figure out how to source is to do it in your spare time, like while you're watching one of your favorite shows on TV, or just pop open some of the vendors that you know we use and get familiar with their price points. And that's going to put a leg up for you, so that you don't waste time as you're moving through the project, sourcing from vendors that we love and are so beautiful, but our clients just can't afford, or vice versa. So for us, that sourcing is starting at the very beginning of the project, when we're first starting to have that conversation of, how are we going to do this? Do we have enough money? Is this going to work? Are we a good fit? It really comes from knowing who I'm going to buy for in the end, through the whole process.
Yeah, awesome. So I think, like, I'm hearing budget, and we offer tools within the Designers Collaborative, things that I've spent painstaking hours creating, where we will give you, okay, I need a sofa. So you look on the upholstery tab, and there's low, medium, and high price points, and then we break it down for you in style for things. So I need a modern, middle of the road price point. These are my vendors. This is how I go and search, rather than fall down the rabbit hole hours and hours. Oh, that's $8,000. That won't work. You don't want those surprises. And the years of data, if you're just starting out, it's impossible to know that. You just spend so much time coming up with, like, where are those places that you're going to look again and again. But once you know them, then that becomes the go-to, because plug in it's going to work. And then you can explore a little bit with the vendor that you didn't know, and it's going to fit perfectly, because that chandelier is crazy. But you know what? Because we did the end tables with this vendor, you can mix it. I find that in my projects, I'm using at least 6 to 8 vendors per room.
Absolutely. The other thing I really love, and when I meet new designers in my area who I want to get onto your stuff, I say, the biggest difference for me was I get to price while I'm sourcing. I'm not sourcing, sending it to a showroom rep, waiting 3 days to see if we can afford it. I can see the price while I'm playing, right? So it's so time saving.
And then also, when you are working with a team, we allow all of your team members to have access to everything, because you may not be the one that's going to price it. You may be the one coming up with the overall design thing, and then let them do that part, because that's not the fun part. You have somebody else write the purchase order and contact us and let us know that this is what you want. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. So last question. All right. And then we're going to open it up for all of your questions. So we have lots of time to get your feedback and have you guys answer too. So this is a big one. Okay, talk about how you come up with the client's pricing.
Ooh. Am I allowed to talk about this? Yes. No one ever talks about this stuff. So we have profitability goals. I mean, we double it and then some. every time. If we can't do that, then we don't buy it. And at the end of the project, I go through and my operations manager, Heather, and I have the ability to kind of run through, because our designers do such a fabulous job of letting us see their margins on every product. Our goal is 130 profit margin, like all double and then some with every single piece holistically on the job. That means we might triple the price of what we buy it for, but not, and remember, we're Googling everything. And so the very important thing is to try to buy from vendors who respect online pricing and what you do, so that you're not, your cost isn't what your client can buy it for. So that is definitely one thing that we're paying attention to. But at the end of the job, once everything is all priced, we are definitely looking for that minimum margin in there every single time. And that is part of the criteria of, was this project successful for us or not? So when we go back in retro and we look at those numbers and how successful was the project, sometimes, you just have to, and you choose to bring the margin down, because there's those feel-good clients that maybe they don't have all the money in the world, but they're so wonderful to work for. And so you kind of compromise your margin a little bit to be able to get them a beautiful home and do what you want to do for them. But that's your choice. So when we're sourcing, though, we set up our software we put in our costs, and it automatically generates what our price point should be per vendor. And then you can go back and manipulate that. But if you've ever read the book Profit First, that's the way that they teach you to do it, is generate and create and take your profit first. And then whatever is left over, that's what you run the business on. And a lot of times that's backwards, is we get our margin and we have our profits, and then we pay all the expenses, and then whatever's left over is mine. If you flip it and you intentionally keep your profits and disperse them to the team and to intentional business activities like marketing and growing your firm and hiring, then you're doing what you want to do and getting somewhere with those profits, as opposed to like, oh darn, we ran out of money, now we can't do those things. So those profitability goals are huge for us, and they're auto-generated through our software based on the price we buy from. So if we don't buy at wholesale or at stocking dealer, then we're not going to be able to have that margin. Our price will be way too high, and that's going to throw off our budget too. So it's very, very important that you buy at that bottom best tier that you can in order to get the best markup.
Okay, so what we do, rather than like kind of holistically look at the whole project, which is a great idea, and I need to explore that more, we really do kind of get in the weeds. Even in our first preliminary paid consult, we're qualifying on the phone first, make sure that they like say a number that's real before we go out there. And then we might just kind of sit around and say, well, if we're doing this dining space and living room, we're going to need this many pieces. What would you feel comfortable spending on the sectional? And then let them guide it. If they say a number that's real, we know we're in the right place. And then when we go back and they've onboarded, they're a client now, we do a item by item budget after the concept, and they've approved the space plan, because we now know how many pieces, and we get their signature on that budget. They know whatever we will bring them, we may end up going 2,000 higher on that sectional, but we'll come in cutting the fat on some other items. So we're kind of holistically balancing it throughout, but we're getting a budget approval before we even start designing. Period, end of story. They have signed that they're spending $180,000 on this house, whatever it may be. If they're not signing, we're not designing.
Okay, I thought of a bonus question. Do we have time? We good? Okay. All right, so how are you figuring out, because you have your product client, you have your product price that the client's going to pay, the shipping and the freight? Yeah.
Great question. So the price that on that budget I was just talking about, that's their cost. We have another mathematical back-end calculation we do to figure out what we get to spend with a TDC vendor. But in terms of freight, I aim really high, because I've gotten bitten. The pandemic taught me a lot of lessons. I add 25% net, which is high. People tell me that's high, and I say, I don't care, because it's covered my butt on maybe I have to keep it in the warehouse longer. either way, it ends up being a wash because it'll be low on some items, high on other. But I aim high. I know some designers who'll go about 18% is what they're going to figure. If it's an extra heavy item, like I saw these like solid onyx side tables, I might add a little more to that, even knowing it's heavier.
And is that retail or wholesale?
Ooh, it would not be on stocking dealer. It would be what I would figure would be like half of retail, probably, like whatever wholesale would be.
So ours is a range of 14 to 18%, depending on the client and the type of job. If it's a new construction and we're anticipating, when we're estimating their freight, we're anticipating how long it's going to be in storage and things like that. So we always give a little extra because new construction never finishes on time. And then there's also just that CYA fund, right? You might go up a couple percent. And then also if they're a pain in the butt type of client, like I might need a little buffer for dealing with you a little bit longer. So that margin is 14 to 18% of their price. So if it's a $100,000 room in product, then they can expect to pay $14,000 to $18,000 in freight, and that is always a conversation. They're not like, okay, sure, because they're used to Amazon, right? They're used to things arriving on their door the next day. They don't understand, my house is empty. Why can't you just ship the bed here? What are we doing? And so I have to explain that whole process. But I really think, so we talk about this all the time. Depends on your receiver. If your receiver has certain stipulations of the first 30 days it's in the warehouse, the storage is free. After day 31, you start kicking in weekly storage rates. So you really have to know how you operate and what your system is and what type of project that's going to be, because your rugs might come in like 2 days. A lot of times the rugs are like there before you even press send. It somehow like arrives at the front door. And then the other pieces that are supposed to take 2 weeks end up taking 9, and then you just never know. So you got to track it the whole way through. And you also have to consider that you're doing that procurement side. So there's the heavy lifting of shipping and freight, but then there's also the manpower behind the computer and taking care of all that stuff. That's the handling, right? You paid $19.99 plus shipping and handling. And so that's the part you have to remember too, is that yes, you have this flat fee and yes, you're working, but you want to work the least amount of possible for that flat fee, so that it doesn't end up biting you in the end. So for us, you really have to understand which receiver you're using and what they charge you, so that you can understand if that placeholder, that 15 to 18% that you're charging is going to be enough. And if you have a really expensive receiver, if you're shipping somewhere you've never shipped before, you might want to make that more like 18 to 20, just because you're not sure.
Yeah, a lot of people do work with the percentages, and my only hesitation is that sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes it will bite you, and you want to go with historical data for, say, a mirror. Because the mirror might be wholesale cost like $425, but then it's $225 to ship that one. And so if you went with 18 or 25%, ow, that hurts. That there's some profit missing from that, because I've always liked to do one price for the client so that they don't have to think about it. Because when I first started, I was doing, okay, so here's the price for the sofa, and then when it ships, here's your freight bill that you're going to pay direct to the freight company. I thought this was a perk because I'm not marking it up, and here's proof you're going to pay them. But actually, it kind of killed the budget. So what I thought I was spending actually was quite a bit higher. So the all-in price, it's more work on my end, but it's peace for the client, and they respect that, they like that. It gives the happy feelings when everything is delivered, and you're not then handing them another bill for what that freight cost is. So when you can kind of build it into your pricing, and even if it's a separate line, some people do the separate line, or some people build it into that cost so that it's invisible, and there's then no questioning about that, because that can be a whole conversation with the client of wait a minute, this isn't Amazon, it's not going to come tomorrow. So yeah, there's
You don't have a dog in your backyard? I would say, just to clarify, because I think we might do it a little differently, when I said my 25%, I build that into the cost of the item because of Amazon. Thank you, Amazon. And then on our budget that we do before we design, I estimate about 12 to 15% as a line item for receiving, delivery, and install. So that 25% I mentioned does not cover installers and receiving.
Okay. Yeah, and I get nervous to put in the price of the piece because that's one of those things of when they Google it, like market value, MSRP, whatever you want to call it, it bumps that up, and there just leads to more conversations. So we have like 2 meetings in our whole design process, unless we're in a reno. So unless it's like a simple question, we only like to talk about money at those 2 times. But we talk about it very thoroughly, when we're in those meetings. But we like to keep it clean and safe and separate. So there's a separate line item for freight, shipping, storage, delivery, install, and then tax. Yes.
I'm new to this, so how on earth do you find out if your vendors are selling to other places? Is there somewhere to go and research that, or is it just experience?
Our best move is to take a picture and post it to the TDC Facebook group and say, does anyone know who makes this? And honestly, you'd be shocked within an hour. Usually somebody's like, oh, that's so-and-so, and you can find it. I don't know that there's any other more technology savvy way to do it than just asking around, but how do you guys do it?
You'll start seeing it though too. I'm not going to say the name of who West Elm buys from. Half of you might know. You've had their cocktails. But if your clients are showing you inspiration from Pottery Barn, West Elm, the retailers, and you're then exploring on your own, like I say, plane time is brain time. When I'm on the plane, I'm always doing stuff like this. So you'll start to say, wait, didn't I see that end table on West Elm? And as you get more experience, you'll get that too. But yes, asking the group, we've had a lot of people say, my client wants this from XYZ retail, where can I get it? And they'll tell you.
Yeah, the power of our group is amazing, because the start of the question was when the client shows you the Pottery Barn catalog, how do you source what vendor is actually making that? And there's quite a bit of that happening, because that shows up in their mailbox, and so they're flipping through and they're like, that looks good. So then we get that question quite a lot, and it's actually another tool that we're going to create. So I'm going to go through and figure out where are they, and sometimes they change it up because maybe they're using such and such a vendor right now, but next year they could change it. So having that spreadsheet would be amazing for everyone to just go to. But right now it's we post it in the Facebook group, who really makes this? Because chances are they don't.
So you guys were just talking about adding a line item for your freight and shipping costs. And you said, we have this big conversation with our clients. What is that? How do you justify that to your clients, that big number?
Yeah, it's if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they don't. They really don't. So you have to kind of ease into it. So the way that I always explain it is, this is not your typical, it arrives in a box and you assemble it in 8,000 pieces. So I always talk about the quality. This is a great chance to talk about the quality of the furniture that you're selling. And, I often throw Pottery Barn under the bus because I don't want them to buy it from Pottery Barn. I want them to buy it from us. And I'll just say, when they arrive, they have boxes and they're assembling your pieces. Our pieces arrive in one piece. They don't even put the legs on them. Everything is on that sofa, or that table is only arriving in a top and a bottom, and that's it. It's not coming in multiple boxes and things that are easy to ship. So when ours hits the receiving dock, it has to get taken off by men. There's no way to automate this. It's actually manual labor. They take it off the truck, they inspect it, they go over the entire piece. I only have X amount of time to be able to tell my vendor, hey, this came in damaged. Then I have to get in contact with the right person to make the claim. Then I have to submit the claim, get that back on the truck, and have it sent back. If I just dropped it at your house, which the only way I could do that is if you had a dock in your backyard that a truck could back up to, and they'll try to say they do, but even if they do, they don't have the receivers who have the understanding of how to inspect it. So then I'm saying, if you want to do that, then you're going to take on full liability of these pieces, and I'm not going to inspect them. I'm not going to have anything to do. If there's any issues, then you kind of put the fear of God in them of like, oh my gosh, I'm spending $100,000 on this stuff, and if it comes in broken, like what am I going to do? And so that's where it's like, we've got you. And so that's part of it. So there's the A to B transportation of how it gets from the warehouse that it came from, the manufacturer's warehouse, to the warehouse of the receiver. Then on delivery day, almost everyone in their entire life has moved, right? Moving costs a lot. If you are trying to move, it's often several $1,000s just to take all the crappy furniture you already have, put it on a truck, and move it to another house and unload it. But we're taking brand new, beautiful furniture that we've taken care of that comes with a warranty off of our receiver and taking it to your home. And not just that, we're placing it, we're installing, we're decorating it, we're making the pillows so perfectly in a way that you wouldn't be able to do if we weren't there doing it on that day. So it's all a big package. And then also, if it's a light fixture, we're gonna coordinate that the electrician hangs it at the perfect length. And if it needs more chain, I almost said string, chain or down rod or whatever, like all the things that you don't know how to do, we're gonna do. And there's a reason when you come in here at the end of the day on install day, you will cry. There's a reason. And you would probably cry for a different reason if you try to do it yourself. So, and this is where it's just like, explain your value and what you do, and that you can't pick that sofa up on your own, and you can't do it. And you can buy from other places, but believe me, shipping's not free. And all of that stuff just compiles into that conversation. And I had a client last year, he was like, I'm not paying more than $5,000 on freight. This is ridiculous. And I was like, it's definitely going to be more than $5,000, 100%. And so we kind of went back and forth. I was like, all right, I'll put in your contract that we'll start at 5. But once we get rolling and I show you the estimated freight for the products you actually buy, then you have to agree to meet me where it's realistic. And he was like, okay. So we went through this whole year and we went through the process. We were sitting at the table at our last meeting. He goes, I know freight's not going to be $5,000. I know it's going to be a ton more. And I was like, yes, I'm glad you see it my way. And so his line item was for a lot more than that, but they understood it was coming. It's in the estimate of the very first bid I give them. So our design fee might be, $50,000. The product investment might be, I'm making things up, $200,000, and then their freight is going to be somewhere around $40,000. Like, it's massive. I understand that, but if they don't pay it, guess who's paying it? Me. And at the end of the day, I told you I love profitability. I'm not paying for their freight. So that's kind of where I stop being. I don't care about that conversation, because I don't care about feelings in that conversation, because it's very factual. They're going to charge me a certain percentage to get it from A to B. But if I understand my numbers well enough and where my products are coming from and how much that freight actually is going to cost, then I can be a little bit more forgiving on the clients that I know are awesome and are going to be understanding and work with me and not give us a hard time. So that conversation is huge to have in the beginning of why it takes so long to get from A to B.
In a nutshell, do you like happy tears or do you like sad tears?
I would say you're selling that experience too. Like, this is how working with a designer is. I mean, you have the opportunity to educate this person. If you don't want to work in this way, Restoration has free designers and you can have the whole house look the same, but the reason you're coming here is because we are curating a collection, and that takes a lot of work, groundwork.
Okay, I have 2 questions. You mentioned there was a software that you use that drops in your profit margin based on what you've determined your goal is. What is that software? And my second question is, if you charge by the hour, so as an example, you mentioned that shipping, freight, handling, installation is one line item. When do you charge by the hour and how?
There's a lot of softwares. I use MyDoma. I have also used Ivy in the past. She'll tell you what she's using. I personally do not charge hourly because it's too much in here for me. So we charge a flat fee based on the value of the job, and then our margin, the money we make in profit on each of our pieces, covers our time, covers my admin assistant to order it, covers when it comes in damaged and now we have to call and file a claim. All the time and running around behind the scenes the client never sees, that profit covers that time. So that's the best way I can answer that.
Yeah, we used to use MyDoma, and we still do actually, but we're dabbling in design files right now, and we're really loving that. We're loving that for a lot of back-end processes and client experience. So we're testing that out, but both of them do the margin calculation, right? Then, the other question? Oh, hourly. We do flat fee. So we also do flat fee. There are occasions, construction and design, build, renovation, that we scratch our heads sometimes and be like, I think we spend a lot more time on site than we actually build for. And I think that's just hard. But when we're in our process and when the client is what we would call our norm, I feel really good about what we charge because it's all based on how many hours we tracked when we did track it hourly. And so we'll kind of put like a multiplier on that, and that's how we end up with our flat fee. But we also limit the revisions so that you don't spiral out of control. So we will say 2 revisions and kind of limit what resourcing means and how that's going to be presented and all that kind of stuff, because otherwise if you don't have parameters around that, flat fee can get really out of hand.
I also did flat fee, and I would audit myself after and make sure I was on target. And another thing on top of like defining everything in your contract is then, it flew out of my brain. But for hourly, the audit afterwards is super important. And then you can't know everything. So if you say, we know something's going to go wrong, one of the fabrics will be discontinued, that tile won't be set right, whatever it is, 20% above what I think it's going to be will cover the unknown. So that's basically, I find like a lot of designers are still struggling with the flat fee and the hourly, so it's tough.
You want to put, parameters to this, but these become family to us. And so it's really that respect that's like, listen, I'm not going to answer you after this time. Like, not saying you can't text me, because I don't know that we can control them, but like, we're okay knowing that I've got a text in my phone and it's not going to get addressed until tomorrow. And especially on the weekend, I actually encourage my team not to look at their emails on the weekend and to really dive into anything on the weekend, because that's the only way we can be our best self is when we come in Monday and we didn't stew about it all weekend. But at the same time, if you don't pick up the phone when your plumber calls you at 7 p.m. because he just got off the job site, how the heck are you ever going to talk to the plumber? And same thing with the client. You have to know their lifestyle, their schedule. And some people just flat out, don't respect your time. And then I just think it's not a good match. We're gonna work with people like that. And then you just manage it, where you can get that number of texts, number of emails. But I think you have to be careful, just because these are our people. They're the ones hiring us. We have to make them also feel good too about working with us.
What kind of factors are you thinking about when you're putting companies on that list? And something that I struggle with personally is like the shipping aspect and how it comes when it's been shipped and the excess waste and trash. And do you factor that in, or how do you?
Great questions. There are a lot of criteria that we use to evaluate manufacturers. We get in contact with the right person at, whichever manufacturing line it is. Packaging is one of our criteria that we go to, and we ask them what type of packaging they're using. Love hearing about the, biofoams and all that. That gives them points, right? Shipping, if we're doing international, we want to definitely know that it's coming via ocean freight, because that's like our lowest carbon. The whole CEU about waste packaging and shipping in our courses there, but that is one of the big criteria, because you've all been there on install day out by the truck, and they're like throwing all the boxes and the foam back in the truck, and it's just like heartbreaking. So the other thing I would encourage you to do is talk to your receiver and ask them what they're doing with that packaging. I had to change the receivers because they are just doing dump runs with it. Like, you can't even recycle the cardboard. I mean, like, at a minimum. The other thing that what we love to put on our, like, a company profile page will say, if they offer, you can ask to have it crated and blanket wrapped. Sometimes there's a little bit of a percentage upcharge to do that, but if you know that before you're sourcing, like when I go to this line, I can add 5% for a blanket instead of having it come plastic, add that into your price.
I just wondered, do you have a practical way to keep track of all of your vendors and your reps and the things that those vendors have that you love to use? Like, my spreadsheets are so long and huge, and I don't know who does what and when, where.
I would say that's where we're tracking a lot of it, and then just getting more and more experience with what leans to this style or what the inline fabrics might be. Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say our design software would be where we track it.
We have a Google Drive folder that is called our resource list. And there's all different types of, there's furnishings, logins, then there's internal logins like the Instagram and all of that stuff. And then just some admin stuff and whatever. But no, that spreadsheet is really long. And I think just learning how to like search it and manipulate it. I'm not an Excel queen, but Heather on my team is. You should ask her. I don't know how to do half of the Excel stuff, but I know. I think alphabetizing it, or maybe like doing it in your top 10 categories could be really helpful. That way, like for us, we're always thinking about when somebody comes on our team, how do they know where to start, you know? And so if you have like your favorites, or we just recently put together like how to create like an SLB vision and what vendors align with that. So those are my favorite vendors. So at the very least, if someone's not sure what I would do, those are the vendors I would start with. So depends if you have a team or not.
I would say that the resources that Heather's group provides has that. So if you're trying to stick within a style, maybe you're more transitional, that's cataloged in a very orderly fashion as well by the type of piece, whether it be case good, accent, mirror, lighting, upholstery, and then by style. So maybe that's why I don't have a big Excel spreadsheet. I use Heather's.
Yeah, we made it. I'm kind of obsessed with organization, so we also even made a whole spreadsheet for trade professionals. This was years in the making, and we're still continuing to add to it. So it's by state, and then also by what they do. You know, you need somebody to paint the room. Somebody else is going to be your wallpaper guy. Somebody else is the tile guy. So from your state, who has been recommended? So these aren't randos. We've taken advice from our group. We've looked at maybe their Yelp reviews and other things. So we love it when a new member comes on and we say, who are your go-tos for this? Because we want to add them to the list, because it makes your life so much easier, because those people are critical to the success of your overall project. So I think we are out of time. So now it is time to go and explore all of the vendors. So I think we're going to start over at Parker Southern, work our way through Temple, Zimmerman Chair, and then Green Gables, and then downstairs I'm going to go with our group. If anyone, you're all welcome to join. Masad is our last at the tour today. So any of you who are not familiar with TDC, I'm here for your questions. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.